Hello everyone, welcome to Simple Concepts. I am your educator Niyati Paul. In this particular class, we will be discussing the most important topic of your GS paper 1, secularism. We will understand the meaning of secularism, the meaning, models and what are the issues related to it. Guys, ये सारे important topics के आपको अगर notes चाहिए हो तो you can join our Telegram group. The link of the group is given in the description below. Also, if you are unable to find our group, then just go to your Telegram account, search bar में जाइए और वहाँ पे Simple Concepts UPSC के नाम में search कीजिएगा, आपको हमारा group दिख जाएगा. So having said that, let's start with today's lecture. So the discrimination of one community or its members by another community or its members on account of their religious identity are the instances of religious persecution and they reflect inter-religious domination. Secularism is the first and foremost doctrine that opposes all such forms of inter-religious domination. Separation, loss and sufferings are endemic to the human condition, while large part of our suffering is man-made and hence eliminable. At least some of our sufferings is not man-made. Religion, art and philosophy are responses to such sufferings. Secularism too accepts this and therefore it is not anti-religious. Now religion had its own share of some deep-rooted problems. In religions such as Hinduism and also Islam, some sections have been persistently discriminated. For example, Dalits have been barred from entering Hindu temples. In some part, Hindu women cannot enter in the temples. Same happens with the Muslim community. The women cannot enter into the mosques. Now, when religion is organized, it is frequently taken over its most conservative faction, which does not tolerate any dissent. Religious fundamentalism in a part of US has become big problem and it endangers peace both within the country and that of the outside. Many religions are fragmented into sects, which leads to frequent sectarian violence and persecution of dissenting minorities. This religious domination is known as inter-religious domination. As secularism is opposed to all forms of institutionalized religious domination, it challenges not merely inter-religious domination but also intra-religious domination. Therefore, secularism promotes freedom within the religion and promotes equality between as well as within the religion. This is the main point यहाँ पे. Now here comes the question, what kind of state is necessary to realize these goals? Here we will see how state is committed to the ideal of secularism should relate to religion and religious communities. Mutual help and sharing can be help or contribute towards reducing the prejudice and suspicion between the communities. Now, one way of reducing the religious discrimination is to work together for mutual enlightenment. Education is the only way which I consider by which we can help for changing the mindset of people. But only education and goodness of some persons will not completely eliminate religious discrimination. Modern day society, state have enormous public power. Now, how state should prevent such domination by any religious groups? The first thing first, state should be non-theocratic. A state must not be run by the heads of particular religion. The state governed directly by a priestly order is called as theocratic. For example, papal states in Europe in medieval period, or for example, Taliban controlled states in recent time. So here the states lacking separation between religious and political institutions are known for their hierarchies and oppression of reluctance to allow freedom of religion to members of other religious groups. For this, states should have separation from religion and at primary level, but that is not sufficient. Second point which we can consider is state should have no formal or legal alliances with any other religion. Many non-theocratic states have close alliance with particular religion. For example, in England in 17th century, it was not run by priestly class but clearly favored by Anglican Church and its members. England had an established Anglican religion which was the official religion of the state. Also, today's Pakistan has an official state religion, namely Islam. Such regimes may leave little scope of internal dissent or religious equality. Now here comes the question how these issues can be solved. Now, secular state must be committed to principles and goals which are at least partly derived from non-religious sources, that is the means. Now, these ends should include peace, religious freedom and freedom from religious grounded oppression, discriminations and exclusion, as also inter-religious and intra-religious equality. Now, to promote these ends, the state must be separated from organized religions and its institutions for the sake of some of these values. There is no defined pattern or form to suggest this separation. Now we can consider the two models over here. The first is a Western model, which is best represented by USA, and second one is Indian model of secularism. Now let us now understand the Western model of secularism. So all secular states have one thing in common. They are neither theocratic nor they have established a religion. Now let us understand what are the features of Western concepts of secularism. The first one is that the state and religion has a separate sphere of its own, with independent jurisdiction, that is mutual exclusion of state and religion, principal distance of state from religion, and no illegitimate intrusion of religion in its state. Now second one is the state cannot aid any religious institution. Third one is state cannot hinder the activities of religious communities as long as they are within the broad limits set up by the law of the land. For example, if religious women forbids if the religion forbids a woman from becoming a priest, then states cannot do anything. Like this, if particular religion forbids the entry of some of its members in the sanctum of the temple, then the state has no option but to let matter rest exactly where it is. So here the religion is a private matter, no matter of the state policy or the law. The model interprets freedom and equality in its individualistic manner. Liberty is the liberty of individual and equality is the equality between the individuals. There is a little scope of community biased rights or minority rights. On the other hand, drawbacks of this model can be seen such as states focus on inter-religious domination by strict separation of state from the church to realize, among other things, individual freedom, issues of inter-religious and therefore minority rights. Equality is often neglected. This model leaves no scope for the idea of state-supported religious reforms. Now let us go to our next point and understand what is Indian model of secularism. Now Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's view was that equal protection by the state to all its religion. He wanted a secular state to be one that protects all religions but does not favor one at the expense of others and does not itself adopt any religion as the state religion. Also, Indian secularism is fundamentally different from that of Western secularism. It does not focus only on church, that is the state separation, and the idea of inter-religious equality is crucial to the Indian conception. Now here comes an interesting question. What made Indian secularism so distinctive? So there was already a culture of inter-religious tolerance in India. Tolerance is compatible with religious domination. It may allow some space to everyone, but such freedom is usually limited. The advent of Western modernity brought to notice, neglect and marginalized notions of equality to Indian thought. It sharpened these ideas and helped us to focus on equality within the community. It also ushered the ideas of inter-community equality to replace the notions of hierarchy. Its operation is done through three factors. First one is scientific and rational education, legislation and social reforms, urbanization and industrialization. So, Indian secularism look on distinct from as a result of interaction between what already existed in society that had religious diversity and the ideas that came from the West. It resulted in equal focus on intra-religious and that of the inter-religious domination. Now here are the differences in Indian secularism. Indian secularism equally opposed oppression by Dalits and women within Hinduism. It also opposes the discrimination against women within Indian Islam or Christianity and the possible threats that a majority of community might pose to rights of minority religious communities. Also, Indian secularism deals not only with religious freedom of individuals but also with the religious freedom of minority communities. That is, individual has the right to profess religion of his or her own choice. Likewise, religious minority also have a right to exist and to maintain their own culture and educational institutions. These rights have been given in our Indian constitution. Also, Indian secularism has made a room for and it is compatible with the idea of state-supported religious reforms. For example, Indian constitution bans untouchability under Article 17. There is also abolition of child marriage and lifting the taboo on inter-caste marriage sanctioned by Hinduism. Now, Indian state may engage with religion negatively to oppose religious tyranny. It may also choose a positive mode of engagement. Thus, the Indian constitution grants all religious minorities the rights to establish and maintain their own educational institution, which may receive assistance from the state. Now, moving on to our next slide, secularism as philosophy of the constitution. So, the preamble of our Indian constitution, as we all know, reflects the philosophy of the constitution. It starts with "We the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure all its citizens." The entire preamble you can of course read by your own. So, the term secular was not initially mentioned in original constitution, as we all know, but Indian constitution has always been secular. As we have already discussed how Indian secularism differs from Western concepts. So, in India it is not mutual exclusion. Rather, it was principal distance, a complex idea that allows state to distance from all religion, so that it can intervene or abstain from interference depending upon which of these would be better to promote: liberty, equality, and social justice. So, constitution reinforces and reintervenes forms of liberal individualism through Article 26, 28, and 19. I repeat again, Article 26, 28, and 19. So, Constitution upholds the principle of social justice without compromising individual liberties. The constitutional commitment to caste-based affirmative action program shows how much ahead India was compared to other nations, as in US it began after 1964 of civil rights movement, as we all know. So, against the background of intercommunal strife of the constitution upholds its commitment to group rights, that is the right to expression, the cultural particularity. So, our forefathers, or we can say the framers of our constitution, were more than willing to face these challenges of what has been known as multiculturalism. In our further slides, in our further lessons, we will discuss about these topics. So, the question of secularism is no one of the sentiments but one of the laws. The secular objective of state was expressed by inserting the word secular in the preamble by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, and it was done in 1976. So, secularism is basic structure of our constitution. There are several case laws which support this. Fundamental rights from Article 12 to 35, they guarantee and promote secularism. Right to equality, right to freedom, rights against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, and right to constitutional remedies are a few such fundamental rights. Now, secular attitude or attitude of impartiality towards all religion is secured by constitution under several provisions, as we have said, from Article 25 to Article 28. Now, firstly, there shall be no state religion in India. The state will neither establish a religion nor confer any special patronage upon any particular religion. It follows from this that the state will not compel any citizen to pay taxes for promotion or maintenance of any particular religion or religious institution mentioned under Article 27 of the Fundamental Right. It should be noted that Government of India provides Hajj subsidy for pilgrimage, and this issue was contested in Supreme Court for alleged violation of Article 14, that is equality, and Article 15, that is for non-discrimination, and Article 27. But Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of Hajj subsidy, saying that Article 27 would be violated if the substantial part of entire income tax collected in India, or substantial part of entire central excise of the custom duties or sales tax, or substantial part of any other tax collected in India were to be utilized for promotion or maintenance of any particular religion or religious domination. In other words, suppose 25% of entire income was collected in India was utilized for promoting or maintaining any particular religion or religious domination, that would be violative of Article 27 of the Constitution. Second one was, no religious instructions shall be provided in any educational institution wholly provided by state funds. Even though religious instructions is totally banned in state-owned educational institutions, in other dominational institutions, such as recognized by receiving aid from the state, it is not fully prohibited, but it must be imposed upon people of other. It shouldn't be imposed upon people of the other religions without their consent. This has been given in Article 28. Now, second point is that every person is guaranteed the freedom of conscience and the freedom to profess, practice, and to propagate his or her own religion. Now, the restriction imposed by state in the interest of public order, morality, and health, so that the freedom of religion may not be abused to commit crime or antisocial acts. For example, commit practice of infanticide, etc. Now, religious regulations or restrictions made by the state relating to any economic, financial, political, or other secular activities which may be associated with religious practice but does not really concern to the freedom of conscience. To measure the social reform and the throwing off open of Hindu religious institutions of public character to all classes and sections of the Hindus. Subject to above limitations, a person in India shall have the right not only to entertain any religious but also to practice observance dedicated such belief and preach his views to others. This has been given in Article 35. It's not Article 35, it's Article 25. So third point is that not only it is there in the freedom of our individual or to profess, practice, and propagate his religion, there is also the right guaranteed to every religious group of domination. First one is that to establish and maintain institution of religious and charitable purpose. Second is to manage its own affairs in matters of religion. Third is to own and acquire movable and immovable property. And fourth one is to administer such property in accordance with the law that is given in Article 26. It should be also noted that this guarantee is available not only to the citizens of India but also to all persons including the aliens, that is the foreigners. Let us now understand what were the views of our founding fathers of our constitution. So Gandhiji, though he was not one of the member in the committee, but still his viewpoints were taken into consideration while they were drafting the constitution. So his views were, religion is a personal matter which should have no place in the politics. This he had stated in 1942. Also, religion in the personal affair of each individual, it must not be mixed up with the politics or national affairs. This he had stated in 1947. Also, he had said, I do not accept of any dreams to develop one religion, that is to be wholly Hindu or wholly Christian or wholly Muslim, but I want to be wholly tolerant with its religions working side by side with one another. Dr. Ambedkar had said his views were, his main concern was to bring heterogeneous communities under one roof in one nation divided on caste lines. Now, discussing the entire topic, what can we really conclude with this? So in various wars, the strength and Indian secularism has been tested. Over the years, Kashmir has been the symbol as well as the test of Indian secularism. Secular responses were given to Punjab terrorism due to communal politics in 1966, if we could remember. Nehru at that time adopted few basic rules for dealing with the militant agitations and their demands. First, no negotiation or political transaction with the leaders of a movement or acceptance of the demands. If they had sectionized tendencies, if they look recourse to violence or base their movements or demands on religious or communalism. Secondly, Nehru remained sensitive to the feelings of the minorities and dealt firmly with both Hindus, Sikhs and Sikh communalism. India is facing challenges to keep secularism alive in form of communalism, that is the communal violence. Politicization of caste and religion, the rise of fundamentalism has also been there. Sometimes Indian secularism has also been criticized as being anti-religious, but that is actually not true, as it is against institutionalized religious domination. It is also said that it promotes minoritism, but it only advocates minority rights as long as those rights protect their fundamental interest. It has also been criticized for being interventionist, which means that secularism is coercive and its interface excessively with the religious freedom of communities. But again, this misreads because Indian secularism permits state-supported religious reforms. Personal laws can be reformed in such a way that they continue to exemplify both minorities' rights and equality within the men and women. But such reform should neither be brought about by state or group coercion, nor should the state adopt a policy of total distance from it. The state must act as facilitator by supporting liberal and democratic voices with every religion. It was also criticized as impossible projects by many other nations, but India claimed them false. In fact, migration is increased due to globalization and is creating a situation where Indian model is very much desired. Europe, America and some parts of Middle East are beginning to resemble India in the diversity of cultures and religions which are present in their societies. These societies are watching the future of Indian experiment, I would say, and their keen interest as a solution for their society. Secularism in other countries like Bangladesh is very unique, which has Islam as state religion and also secularism as one of their basic tenets of constitution. In China, if we can see, the communist part of China follows atheism, but there are 5 religions recognized by the state. First one is Buddhism, then Taoism, Islam, Catholic Christianity and Protestant Christianity. The state even promotes normal religious activities, example not using temples as platform to preach violence or rhetoric against the state, as a force of stability of China. Moreover, the religious practices in China are also in control. So guys, इसी के साथ हम ये लेक्चर कंक्लूड करते हैं. इफ़ यू लाइक दिस लेक्चर, डू हिट दैट लाइक बटन. अगर आपने हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब ना किया हो तो सब्सक्राइब करिएगा एंड प्रेस द बेल आइकन सो दैट यू विल बी नोटिफाइड एवरी टाइम वी आर ऑन यूट्यूब. थैंक यू सो मच. बाय बाय.